What's up, everybody? Welcome to another riveting, informative, and essential episode of Off the Couch Boxing. I am your host, Rex Ruger 2.0, speaking on behalf of the Alexis Arguello puppet back here.
And I'm your other host, Frank Benjis, back with another episode.
Booyah! Back at it again, and true to form like we always are. It's about diving into the meat and potatoes, which I think fans of the fight game like and appreciate about the Off the Couch podcast. At least I hope they do, man. You know, not a lot of droning on and on. We just get right into it. We had a guest scheduled tonight, but unfortunately, scheduling issues popped up, man, and it did not manifest, man. But we had a great one earlier today, man. Had a great one earlier that we will, at the time of this recording, have not dropped yet, but we will be, man. And it is going to be a good one, man. Got a chance to speak to the great Stephen Breadman Edwards. Fucking phenomenal freaking coach and a Philly guy, Northeast guy. Always shout out to the Northeast. We grow them the toughest right up here. No doubt about that.
Yes, sir, we do.
And today, as you can see by our great screen there, man, the guy we're showcasing and chopping it up about tonight is the great Vasiliy Lomachenko, a.k.a. The Matrix, a.k.a. what the fuck else does he go by? Seems
I don't even
know. Yeah, I don't know either.
Not a nickname guy.
No, it doesn't seem to be too consumed with a nickname. Right, that's true. The Matrix, high tech. He was high tech for a while.
Oh yeah, high tech is the one that.
And now I think he's just pretty much comfortable being Loma. You know.
Loma. Yeah.
Yeah. But let's also, lest we not forget, man, that this is a guy who made four, count them, four in the modern era of boxing. Just back in the late 20-teens, four men quit on their stools. I repeat, four men quit on their stools because they couldn't figure. He is the goddamn Matrix.
Yeah, and one of them. I love to bring this up, bro, but one of them was Rigondeaux, who was 33-0 going into that fight.
Yeah.
Took his first defeat by way of quitting.
Yes. Other notable quitters in the Lomachenko career are Nicholas Walters, Jason Sosa, and Miguel Mariaja. All championship level caliber fighters, though. And he's also gone on to beat Jorge Linares, Jose Pedraza, Luke Campbell. Of course, the defeat, I think, more at his own hands against Teofimo Lopez. And I think even he would be self-critical about that, where it really wasn't so much what Teofimo did as what Loma didn't or wasn't able to do that night. And then right back into it against Nakatani, Richard Comey, Jermaine Ortiz. And then, of course, this year we get that deplorable decision against Devin Haney. Absolutely shameful. Once again, boxing judges got it wrong. Oh, my God. Surprise, surprise.
Yep, as they do always.
Yeah. I mean, this man right here, man. This man right here.
What do you say about a guy who's got 400 amateur wins?
Yeah. A guy who stepped away from the sport at his father's urging and did Russian dance to get that footwork. Only the ignorance out there will laugh at something like that, man. But I think it's, genius. Big shout out to Papachenko. Doesn't have a huge stable of fighters. It's pretty much him and his son, man. But what he's able to do, man, and just the mere fact of this man's talents, to have him be 17-3 and still on the Ring Magazine pound for pound list, which many people say he shouldn't be. I myself have been, critical of him still getting that accolade bestowed on him as well. But speaks volumes to the respect that people have for his high ring IQ and just the amazing skill set he possesses.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think he'll probably remain there for the foreseeable future as long as he doesn't suffer another defeat.
Well, we've talked about it before that we don't think he'd be very comfortable in a gatekeeper type role. Ever since he started out, he wants championship fucking fights, and he wants them just keep them coming. He's out there looking for accolades and to be highly decorated. That's that Eastern European mentality, highly decorated. And, it's all about cashing out at the end and saying, hey, look, I accomplished this, and this,
Right.
Sometimes it's weight divisions or it's titles or it's, I don't know. I don't know after that deplorable decision win that Haney got over him, just how much that doesn't gut a man and even make him want to even come back. He turned back the hands of time that night, man. Everyone was writing him off as this aging, like this guy that's like suddenly over the hill now. And it's like, dude, no, he ain't. No, he ain't.
He definitely showcased in that fight that he's still at the top of the division. And he's still a championship caliber fighter.
Yep.
Even at an advanced age.
I mean, let's face it, people will have their own critique and analysis of that fight with Devin Haney. But I mean, 7-5 all day in my mind. I mean,
yeah, that's the score. 7-5 Loma.
And I hate the fact that people are saying, no, it was really all that body work. We've talked about this before, that Devin Haney cashed in. Well, you know what? Early body work should pay off in championship rounds and slow a guy down. And Loma was still letting them hands go and getting busy. That's when he was beating Haney up the most.
Yeah, I was going to say he got better with time in that fight.
Yeah, from round 8 or 9 on, yeah, it was all Loma with his foot on the gas.
Until a pretty even round 12, I thought.
Yeah. But Lomachenko, man, let's also not forget, though, man, stepped away from the sport. God bless him, man, and went and fucking stood shoulder to shoulder with his fellow soldiers in the Ukraine. Got to salute a guy for that, man, always. That's bravery, man.
Respectable.
Yeah, very. I believe him and Usyk both stepped away from the sport and went and served their military. Yeah, that's the real fight right there, folks, man. Like we say on here how much we commend these guys just for stepping through the ropes, but to step out from those ropes and into a real fucking war.
Yeah, that takes real courage.
Yeah.
Real cojones.
Yeah. Lomachenko, truly one of the fucking class guys, man. Class personified, man. I mean, he's just like.
Class. Top-notch boxing ability, slick skill.
Yeah.
Dominant footwork.
Yep. There's that Russian dance. I'm going to sign up for a Russian dance class. To be honest with you, I'm going to start researching this. I mean, I don't think it's ever too late, man. And if it does wonders for the footwork, man, anything that'll take me off the couch, man, I'm down for, man. I'm going to see if there's like some videos out there. So look what it did for this man's footwork.
Yeah, the way he changes angles on you. And he's attacking from all sides is
wow,
mind-boggling.
You can almost look and see why guys are just sitting over on their stool and they're looking over like, God damn, I ain't gonna figure this fucking guy out. I'm out. I'm done. I don't even want to come out of my corner, man. I'll stay right here, man. Let him have this one, man. And usually you don't find guys. Guillermo Rigondeaux, is a Cuban. He's probably been through some shit. And for him to not even hang in there with Lomachenko means he's really in there beating the fucking brakes off you. Those guys just don't quit.
Who was that guy that fucking came out to the ring for his fight and then just left, turned around and left?
I don't know. But that's what a lot of these guys probably should have done.
It was pretty recent, dude. A guy was waiting in the ring already, and then the other guy made his ring walk out there, and then he just made his ring walk back.
Yeah. And one of the big knocks on Lomachenko, man, is the fact that so much focus gets put on his technical prowess. But he's got pop. He's knocked a lot of these guys out. The ones that didn't quit on a stool, which for people that don't know the rules, still is a knockout. Right. But I'm talking about legitimately putting a guy down on the canvas or hitting him with a barrage of punches that leads to a stoppage.
Well, I mean, if the guy quits, it should be a knockout, or at least a technical knockout.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
that's the same as what Ryan Garcia did, dropping and staying down and not choosing not to get up.
Well, it's just funny because these guys are always, you always hear so much, that's saying, I want to go out on my shield. I want to go out on my shield. And then all these guys are going one after another. 1, 2, 3, 4. Quitting over on a fucking stool. I mean, that just goes to show you, man, how ready this is.
What Loma's skill is.
Yeah. And he just seems like a really interesting guy. And you can really see that he's really worked on like the marketability side of his career too. His English, while probably still not where he'd like it to be, has come so far. A lot like fucking Canelo. You realize if you want to be that crossover star, you've got to really work on some stuff. And unfortunately, man, in this day and age, you got to give some face time to the media, man. People got questions. Everyone's got a phone now. So that means everybody's a reporter.
Right.
Anybody could start a show, much like we have, and just go out there with their phone and say, hey, I'm from Off the Couch Boxing, or, this one or that one. And you are now Boxing Press.
Right.
I mean,
that's good for us though.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it certainly shows the Loma, realizes
I think it's the same criteria to become Boxing Press as it is become a boxing judge.
Yeah, which is none.
You just say I do this now.
You just show up. Yeah, which is why it was so refreshing to hear our earlier interview, which will air at a later date, with Stephen Breadman Edwards, who really did call some of the glaring problems onto the carpet. And it is refreshing to hear it rather than have it swept,
Right. Or just those guys just want to give you the diplomatic answer all the time. Well, I'm not going to.
That's the way it goes.
Didn't do their job.
Yeah. That's the way it goes sometimes. Can't win them all. No, but I mean, when you're really royally fucked out of one, man, I mean, that was one that you had won.
Right. That's why I told him, if somebody would have just saw the clip of him, like, oh, you're a piece of shit. You're a piece of shit. Like, they might take that out of context and think he's really acting out. But if you watch the fight, you would understand exactly why he came to those conclusions.
Yeah. But, getting back to who we're focused on tonight, I really hope Lomachenko is not done fighting, man. But the guy's got to really be, a little bit sour grapes. I mean, I know we've talked about the mentality that a coach and or fighter has to have going forward. Yeah, as tough as a pill it is to swallow, you got to move on to the next one. And as Breadman said, decompartmentalize it, think about it for a little bit, and then put it away and focus on the next one, man. But I mean, this was yet another chance for Lomachenko to achieve that lifelong dream of becoming undisputed champion in a 4-belt era, man. And, he legitimately, I think, lost it for himself against Teofimo Lopez, but this time it was really there, and he seemed like he took it. And then ultimately he did not. Travesty. Shame on those judges, man.
Well, ultimately he did. The judges just didn't see it that way.
Yeah.
Because I saw it in favor of him.
Great body work, my ass.
And that's an unbiased score, because I scored it 115-113, which is a very close fight.
Yeah,
I'm
not saying it wasn't close.
Here handing every round to Loma because I'm more of a fan of him. I scored it reasonably, and that was what I felt like the score was, and that was also the fan friendly scorecard that they show up on the fights. He had the same score.
And talking about those scores too, I also feel like, man, that all the quote unquote criteria that HBO Boxing, when it was still on and being broadcast, used to always tell us, here's the criteria that the judges go by. And I think ring generalship, it was a lot of cutting off, playing the angles and walking Haney down. I think that's in Loma's favor. And I think the clean, effective punching and the effective aggression, I think all those things that were initially staples of what a judge was looking for were undeniably, dictated by Lomachenko, dominated by Lomachenko.
Yes, 100%.
Effective aggression. I mean, come on, man. I mean, Haney don't want no smoke and really trade hands with Lomachenko, man, because he don't knock people out, and Loma does.
Well, it's effective aggression, like you said. It's ring generalship. It's clean and effective punching. So not only is the punch connecting, but it's doing something. You know what I'm saying? Like it's slowing a guy down. It's causing visible damage.
Right.
You know, so it's doing something.
That's what burns me up about this. That's what burns me up about the whole, all the post-fight chit-chat. Everybody at first was outraged, and then everyone's got to all of a sudden take that diplomatic step back and say, well, I have to rewatch it. Haney did do a lot of great body work. But initially, when people were coming out of that auditorium, and there were boxers and there were people that in the spotlight that were coming out instantly and crying robbery. And then, 2, 3, 4 days later, those people are all going on social media and they're backtracking because let's not put it under the microscope and really examine it. Let's just try to, again, sweep it under the rug. And hopefully, the next big fight will take the, because that's a good thing. The next fight can always steal the thunder.
I'm blanking on Loma's age now, but I think he's somewhere around 33, 34 years old.
Older than that.
The boxing commission doesn't want a 35, 36-year-old Ukrainian champion. They want a 21-year-old American champion.
Yep. He's going to be 36 in February.
Right.
20 professional fights, 17-3, 11 knockouts. It doesn't sound great when you say it out loud. You know what I mean? It makes you think what's so great about that?
You could argue though that he's 19-1 and that his first loss wasn't a legitimate loss and that his loss to Haney wasn't a legitimate loss.
No, in his second pro fight, the split decision loss to Orlando Salido was very sloppy and infested with a lot of fouls and just a lot of brutish techniques used by the crafty Orlando Salido. And I guess, salute him for getting the dirty boxing in there. It's got its supporters, it's got its detractors. It's a polarizing topic, man. But what are you going to do? Two guys are in a fight. Some elbows might get loose in there,
Right.
It is what it is, man. We're not under any illusions, man, that these guys are getting in close quarters and whispering sweet nothings into each other's ears. I mean, some shit.
You have to think, though, right? If I'm looking at a guy, two guys fighting, and I'm taking into account the stuff we're talking about, ring generalship, effective aggression, clean and effective punching, all these things, right? If I see damage on your face, and I know the guy's been hammering you with fucking elbows and driving his head into you all night, in the back of my mind, I'm going to be thinking, maybe a couple of the punches did some of that, but I'm going to say a lot of that was probably caused by just the other things, the elbows, the head, you know what I'm saying? The other
intangibles.
So that's gonna, if I'm a judge, that's gonna make me not score you as well.
Right.
I'm gonna think, well, this guy has some damage on his face, but this guy has been throwing fucking elbows all night, so he might have damage because he's been getting elbowed in his face all night.
Right. Let me also remind you, he's whispering in my ear right now, the Alexis Arguello puppet just also reminded me that it seems like Lomachenko has been ducked in his career, which I think definitely adds to a guy's, his whole aura and his whole presence. I mean, yeah, I feel like Tank, up to this point, has avoided him. There's no reason. Again, a fight that's been clamored for a couple of years. There's been no reason why we shouldn't have already been done gotten these two guys in the ring.
Yeah,
no good reason.
Shakur and Loma were supposed to fight, and that shit, Loma didn't want it.
Yeah, well, because right now, man, what's a kid who's 20-0, who's just a name at this point? No accolades, no guys on his own resume, because you do kind of suck that blood. Like, if you beat a guy, you kind of almost inherit his resume as well,
Right.
Like, oh shit, you beat Oscar De La Hoya. Oh shit, and Oscar's beating this. It's almost like, yeah, you didn't beat all those guys, but you did beat a guy who did.
You beat the guy that
It's
beat
like
them.
transference of power of some kind. You know what I mean?
No,
Like
it is. No, it definitely is.
Yeah. You start to think, fuck, man.
Like Buster Douglas goes and knocks out Mike Tyson, and then the next guy comes out and knocks out Buster Douglas. That guy's the guy that knocked out the guy that knocked out Mike Tyson.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah, right. Or even if you don't score a knockout, but you just don't make yourself an easy out. Like we just had a great interview with the great Stevie Forbes, who fought Oscar De La Hoya to a decision. When back then Oscar was still pretty potent and knocking guys out, man. It's like, God damn, man, you hung in there with the dude, all 12.
Hey, hung in there, dude. There was a shot in round 10 there where he had a puncher's chance, man, for a second.
Yeah,
he didn't seize his opportunity. He didn't seize his opportunity because I didn't say this to him, but I don't believe that he was expecting his shot to do the damage it did. So he didn't jump on it because I don't think he was prepared for it to happen. We were supposed to have Zahir Rahim on here, and I was going to say that I was going to ask him why when he hit Morales with that two-piece and he fell back to the ropes, how like really dazed and confused, how come he didn't jump on him? Right.
And Lomachenko, I think at this point in his career, in those championship rounds against Haney, you know, when all these alleged body shots that were getting put in the bank early on in the fight still had not done anything to Lomachenko, which really shows that they weren't all that effective, where Loma was still stepping on the gas and pot-shotting Haney and really landing some good shit, man, that maybe, you know, you do think about like time and the inactivity and being over-involved in the war that he was in his country. You know, the old Loma of a couple of years ago probably would have put Haney away. You know what I mean? Did he have enough to step on the gas? He certainly was trying.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely something to be said about that because you got to figure too, like he's fighting the obviously younger guy, you know, and like you can say what you want, but dude, there's a lot to be said about a guy who's got fucking 14 years your youth.
And let's also not forget, man, that that he was highly decorated.
I do think very much that Devin Haney at 21 and a Loma at 21, Loma wins that fight by scary knockout.
Yeah, he does. And I have to say right now, man, fucking looking at his career here on the internet, 396 amateur wins against one loss.
Right, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I wish we could get Loma on here and talk to him because I'd really like to ask him what's the mindset there having 400 amateur fights and not just going pro.
I guess maybe, man, like when you do enter the professional forum that you can instantly do what he did. Maybe he thought they gave him more leverage because he went to Bob Arum when he eventually signed with Top Rank and wanted his first fight to be for a title. And Bob Arum was like, damn, I can promote shit and get some fucking crazy shit done. But that I can't promise you can do. Got him one in his second fight. Apparently Orlando Salido must have held some belt. I don't know like which one or how important or prestigious of a belt it was, but a belt's a belt or whatever, man. But he just wanted to start collecting belts. And that's the one, unfortunately, where he got, caught a loss already. So he was 1-1 right out of the gate.
Right.
That's not even great for a prospect. You don't even think about those guys even losing a fight inside of 20, usually.
Right. You don't want them to.
I mean, Loma's at 20 already with 3 L's. That would usually be viewed as catastrophic for your career.
Yeah, definitely not pound for pound rankings.
No. and staying there for ungodly weeks and months and years. I mean, he's been on that list a long time. I mean, but you cannot deny the resume, though. Gary Russell Jr., Roman Martinez, and then, of course, the 4 quits: Nicholas Walter, Jason Sosa, Miguel Mariaja, Guillermo Rigondeaux, then a win over Jorge Linares, a win over Jose Pedraza, a win over Anthony Crolla, a win over Luke Campbell. Nakatani, Richard Comey, Jermaine Ortiz. I mean, all the guys that he's notched W's against are significant.
Are good wins, yep.
Champions or former champions or guys in the thick of things for sure. I mean, Loma don't want fights with chumps. That's why I don't see him being any kind of gatekeeper. Not that there's anything wrong with being a gatekeeper, man. It is an honor to say, hey, this person's fought enough at this weight to be a good measuring stick to see if someone should be at that fucking championship challenging for belts type level. But that's not Loma's thing, though. If there's nothing in it for Loma, he's not going to stick around and do that. He's just not. That's not going to be his cup of tea. I mean, this guy wants accolades. He wants accomplishments, man. He wants to be seen and have the world know that he is a champion, decorated with stuff. I don't know. I think it's just that that Eastern European mindset, man. I'm telling you, it's different, man. Like, them cats are cut from a tough, gritty mindset. I mean, they just are. They don't fuck around over there, man. They get shit done, man. I like that about them, though. I like it. I respect the grind. I mean, and I implore people to go out and check out on YouTube, man. There are videos and behind the scenes looks at what Loma goes to get into fights, holding his breath for ungodly amounts of time underwater, putting his body through, the rigors and trauma.
Yeah. He's one of the
orthodox stuff.
Training.
And he's also always keeping the fast twitch muscles and keeping himself active, because even when it isn't a boxing-related activity, him and his team are out doing shit, playing hacky sack, throwing frisbees, fucking getting busy, playing volleyball, just doing shit.
Right.
Active shit that's good for coordination, strength, all that good stuff. I mean, come on, man. Who's better than this guy? I mean, skill set wise, in his prime, I will put his skill set up against anybody that I've ever seen do it, regardless of record.
Me too. Like if you put Loma at 25 years old and anybody at 25 years old at the same weight, he's gonna give him a hell of a fight.
Yeah. I can only harken back to maybe like if he fought at 130 or 135 against like a Sweet Pea, Pernell Whitaker, or like another guy that was a wizard like that. You know what I mean? That would have been like the showdown.
Crazy fight.
Yeah, that would have been the showdown. Or I'd be curious, even though he took a lot of L's, I'd be curious to see what he would make of the style of Emmanuel Augustus if he was ever in there with the Drunken Master. That would kind of be, stylistically, that would kind of be like, I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't. Maybe I'm way off on that. I don't know, but.
I feel like Emmanuel Augustus is giving anybody a tough day at the office, at least.
I just think he's just in there, man. I view him as, we'll do another episode on him another time, because he is an interesting cat, man. And I don't want to take the shine off of Lomachenko, man. But, I am upset, as Loma was upset. You saw him backstage afterwards, promising his kids that he was going to come home, like with those belts or whatever, man, and crying and very emotional. And I imagine that's probably the culmination of everything. The war, the struggle to get back, to knock off the ring rust, to weather that inactivity and come back and then get back into the championship picture.
And to quote unquote win that fight.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then to lose it in the hands of the judges, which is, becoming so, hey, a newsflash to fighters out there. I know this is easier said than done, but get knockouts. Makes life so much easier in Vegas or anywhere.
Yeah, really does.
Yeah. Go ahead and go knock your opponent out, man, because, you're really rolling the dice, man, if you're taking your chances with the judges, man, because, I don't know. I'm very proud to say, man, that most of the time, and I might toot my own horn here a little bit, man, I've got the right score. Sorry, I just do.
Yeah, I feel like I do too, most of the time.
Yeah. I don't know what these guys are looking for, but I feel like I can watch 3 minutes of two guys fighting and say, that guy, and I will admit, some rounds in defense of what they do are tougher to make that call than others. I've watched plenty of fights where you're like, wow, that is a quote unquote a tough round to score.
Well, you heard Breadman say it. When people think that there's an A side to a fight,
yeah,
they start doing things on their own. You know what I'm saying? Like to ensure that A side works out.
Right. And I'm not on here to fucking carry that. I'm not in here to plant that flag right now on this particular episode. But it does tie back into Lomachenko. And was he or was he not a victim of this in the Haney fight? I mean,
he was.
How does this happen? Who's involved? I mean, and again, Breadman also made a good point. Why aren't these guys called on the carpet? Here's your card. Here's what we have on tape of the fight. Explain. Watch it round by round and say why you gave that round.
Right.
Your work should be reviewed.
What did you see here?
Right. Yeah.
That warranted to have that round.
Because he made a very good point. These guys are actually awarded more work the more incompetent they are, apparently.
Right.
Wow, you're getting these scores wrong, but hey, we're going to put you in the next title fight and let you decide the fate of these guys and who walks home a champion with the ability to make big money fights, change the rest of their life potentially.
Well, you know what, man? It's not gonna change, what I'm saying, until the fighters really start, petitioning for it to change.
Yeah. I think right now their X that they're really trying to grind is like the sanctioning fees and stuff. You got to pay whether you're the champ or not, you know what I mean? And like, where's this money going? And like, what's it being kicked to? Obviously, nothing's being put aside for fighters. Shout out to the great John Iceman Scully, who is out there trying to do good shit for fighters. It's easy for us to get on here because as our podcast is called, at this point in our careers, we're not getting off the couch. But we could certainly say, man, the guys who step in there, man, and entertain us. As you've said before, there's no 401k. These guys are not always living in the lap of luxury, post-boxing. So, I mean, sometimes they need a little help. Everybody's not up in an ivory tower somewhere, man,
Right. A lot of these guys fight for passion and love of the sport and not for money.
Right. Right.
And then where do they end up for it? They end up desolate.
Right. Which makes it even more heartbreaking when a guy like Lomachenko, man, who comes back from a war, and then fights again for another shot at this, man, and seemingly wins the fight. And again, man, has the judges, has his fate in the judges' hands. And this time it's wrenched away from that.
To your point, which changes the whole trajectory of Loma's life and career. Because if he wins that fight, he's 18-2, a unified champ at 135 right now.
Now everybody's got to come see him.
He holds the cards.
Yeah.
He holds the big money.
Right. It changes his financial future. It changes his amount of leverage. You know what I mean? Like
everything.
On negotiating. And
you give that fight, you gift wrap that fight for Devin Haney. And then what does he do? He vacates and goes to 140 anyway.
Right. Which so I think, the sanctioning bodies, the alphabet organizations, they got to do the right thing here, man. Whatever kind of tournament they're going to have or round robin or whatever they're going to do to have guys pair off and fight for these belts and then everybody try to go after each other to get undisputed. Loma certainly at the very least needs to be in the mix for one of those or should immediately be put into a title fight. If he's going to vacate and so 1 and 2 are going to fight for some belts, man, he should certainly be based on his performance put into the mix of this and not just cast aside because we've done a podcast before about how deep that 135 pound, if in fact Loma stays at that weight, there's talk of him going down, maybe fighting Inouye at a catch weight. I mean, but I don't even know what obviously there'd be belts there, but I mean, I don't know. Usually as guys get older, they don't want to kill themselves to make a lighter weight as their bodies fill out and are mature.
Well, also, I think that's a terrifying fight for Lomachenko and Inouye.
Yeah,
I don't think Loma's doesn't got the pop anymore to keep Inouye honest.
Yeah, Inouye's just a wrecking machine right now, man. And if you go down and play into his hands, and you go down to 126 or 130, man, I mean, I think you almost play into his hands. If he wants to come all the way up to, I think 130 would be still a very dangerous Loma, man. But I mean, trying to get Inouye all the way up to 135 and maybe neutralize a little bit of that power, then maybe Loma's
you could definitely argue that Loma was best at 130.
Yeah, I think he was most comfortable there. He did a lot of his best work there, man. But I mean, there's big fish at 135 right now, as you know from doing an episode on that very deep division. Keyshawn, Frank Martin and Shakur Stevenson, which is now, as of today, at the time of this recording, is now off because Shakur wants all the money, doesn't want to give any to Frank Martin, man. So again, here's the kind of squabbling of bullshit that's going on. And here's Lomachenko, who's literally crying over being robbed at the chance to be undisputed of that division. And these guys won't make a good fight over money, man. I think Loma, man, just wants a shot at those belts, man.
Yeah, that's all he cares about. He doesn't even think he cares about money.
If someone's going to put those belts on the line, man, I think he'd fight him for free.
Yeah.
I could have another crack at being undisputed. He probably didn't even think he was going to get that second one. And it's got to stick in his craw all this time, man, because the Teofimo Lopez fight, as I said earlier, wasn't so much anything great that Teofimo did. It was more that Lomachenko just didn't really do shit until about 2/3 of the way into the fight. As we've laughed about and talked about, like, you know, hey, here's the round, he's going to pick it up.
I'm going to say to joke on us. And Loma, dude, we were pulling for you, man. We really wanted you to start doing something. We were like round 11. We were like round 11, like, all right, man. He's going to knock this dude out. That's what it is.
He's downloading. He's downloaded this guy.
He was letting Teofimo get a couple, air some shit out, and then he's going to knock out.
Yeah. All right. Here we are in round 8. He's probably downloaded all the data on this guy. He's got everything he needs now. I mean, he's here's where he goes to work.
He didn't even throw a punch.
I don't know what was weighing on his mind that night. Well, he did. If I'm not mistaken, though, man, he went into that fight with a bad shoulder, didn't he? That he had operated on immediately afterwards. A lot like Pacquiao going into his fight with Floyd. But I almost say, you know, contractually, man, you want to feed your family and you want the money, man. But I mean, I don't get these guys going in with a serious injury to a body part that they're going to be using all night long. Why not just put the fight off?
Right. Your physical health and overall well-being is more important.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, a huge salute to them, man. Like, this is why they get the opportunity to do what they do, man. They're tough men, and no one's going to question their mettle, man. It's like, fuck it, I'm fighting, you know?
Yeah, it's like really, I mean, we've heard him with so much accolades, and we've just given Loma so much love here. I feel like, to quote our great American poet, I feel like it's time for me to just, and, you know, it's funny because I said this before earlier when I was talking about Plant and all those guys, but seriously, dude, Loma can go 15 seconds with anything, if anybody.
Yeah. So you are right now officially quoting our great American poet, Gary Busey.
I'm our great American poet, Gary Busey, by saying that Loma and me and you can go 15 seconds. And Gary
and the
Busey.
Alexis Arguello puppet.
And the Alexis Arguello puppet can all go 15 seconds with anything.
Yeah. Bring on anything. Bring on anything. Tonight I wore a newsboy. How do you like that? Class to join up a little bit, man. And on that note, I will end it with a huge, emphatic bazang!